Hey everyone, this week's story is a back to school story. Many of you are starting school this week, or your kids are starting school this week. And so, my daughter Heather, who is now 28, was just 5 at the time the story actually occurred. She was starting kindergarten. And so I've seen on Facebook where many of your kids and your grandkids are starting kindergarten. What an exciting time in your life. Also can be a little scary. You're sending this poor little innocent child off to the big bad world of school. And so I know it can actually be scary for many of you, but it'll be okay. Now, she started her first week of kindergarten, and she came home during her first week, and she had a secret that she wanted to tell me. And I was a little nervous, and I said, okay. And so we were sitting at the table, and she proceeds to tell me that she has had sex. Now, I'm going to try to keep this G-rated because I do have some younger viewers. But anyway, and I was just like, oh my goodness, what has happened? I was really upset because it was like, here this innocent child is, and this is the first week of kindergarten, and she's already coming home talking like this. And so I was pretty upset about it, but I didn't let it show to Heather for sure, because one of the things is I wanted to keep those open lines of communication. You always want to try to stay as calm as possible, right? Don't freak out, those types of things. And so I began to ask Heather questions about having sex, and I was like, explain to me what that means. And so she, in her sweet little self, explains to me what she thinks it means, right? And so then what I did is, instead of like telling her a whole new idea or anything, I just said, well, have you done those things? And she goes, well, no. And I said, then you haven't had sex. And so that was the end of that. Nothing else was said. She was happy with that, and she went about her merry way, right? So I'm a little worried about this, right? So it's like, okay, so I've already started questioning myself in my head. Do I go and talk to the teacher? What do I need to do about this? Those types of things. So then the second week she comes home, and she has another secret she wants to tell me. And you can imagine I was really nervous what this secret was going to be, right? So we sit down, and she tells me that she's pregnant the second week of kindergarten. And so here we've had 2 occurrences in the first 2 weeks of school about this topic. And I'm like, okay, I said, now you have to have sex to get pregnant. And I said, you told me last week that you hadn't had sex. And she goes, uh-huh. And I said, then you can't be pregnant. She was happy with the answer. No deliberating went on with that. And so it was like, oh my goodness. Now, of course, what did I have to do? I had to go and talk to the teacher about, where is my child getting all this information, right? So we finally determined what child she was hanging around, and was probably getting the information from them. And so I asked the teacher to politely keep them apart for a little while. Now, here is the pointing to him about this. And I'm not trying to make you guys nervous, but I am, okay? One of the things is, in the Bible, it teaches us to train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they won't depart from it. That's in Proverbs 22:6. And I think that you should be training your children for their whole entire life, right? Then these types of things, when they come up, right? Now it seems funny, but back then it sure didn't seem funny. But when those things come up, then, right, you've already started training your child what's right and what's wrong, that they can come and talk to you about anything, those types of things. And when they're old, they won't depart from it. I'm proud to say that I have 3 wonderful children, 28, 26, and 23. So they did make it through school. Heather made it through kindergarten after having her sex the first week of school, not really, and being pregnant the second week of school. So the deal is, you want to train those children up. Begin when they're little and continue on. Today, as I sat in church, I thought about our mid-teens and our teens. And one of the things is, you have to teach your children to let their light so shine. We're constantly teaching our children to do that, to be kind to others, right? Even sometimes when kids aren't very kind to them, they still have to learn how to be kind to people that are unkind to them. I think about our world today. Maybe if somebody would be kind to some of these folks, then some things won't happen. So the deal is, train your child every day. Every day we're training our children. I say that I'm still training my children, even though they're all grown adults. I still have the freedom I do to say things to them, to tell them things, to point them to Scripture, those types of things, as we're continue to train our children. So as you go about this first week of school, what I want you to do is to continue to point to Him, and especially those children. All right, you guys have a great week. I'm still working on that vacation video. I want it to be really good, so we're still working on that. We'll get that to you, and you guys have a great week.